there are a lot of claims. They are saying कि Airbnbs are killing traditional hotel industry in India. What is your take on this?
The way we host as Indians,
Mm.
we don't like any stranger to stay in our own house.
Yes.
Only few guests who have traveled abroad, who have stayed in Airbnbs, they knew what Airbnb is. However, there were a lot of guests who thought that Airbnb is a cheaper alternative to a hotel, and hence they used to book Airbnbs. And then when they used to come to Airbnb, they used to find that this is not hotel, but a house.
Competitor of Airbnb in India. So what is your take that did they crack it right even though there is an apartment and they want to host it to Airbnb? But when they are actually doing it, there is a lot of disagreement with the neighbors, with the society, the gated community people, even in that matter, even independent houses. So a lot of backlash is being received, like how can you just let people in the residential area? So is it a actual problem? Have you ever faced it? If you have faced it, how would you address it? Hello everyone, back to TGD podcast. Today I have come up with a interesting topic as well as even more interesting personality. Before picking the topic for this episode, I was wondering. I love traveling as well as staying at very new places. And also I'm interested about real estate usually. So I was just wondering who would be the right person for this. And after a lot of research and I found this amazing personality, Mr. Udayan Deshpande. He's super host as well as Airbnb community leader for Karnataka with over 100 plus listings, as well as founder of Marathi Connect and even more. You know, his achievements are as long as his listings. So it's better we turn the camera towards him. Here you go, sir. Please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, Arif. Thanks for inviting me here.
My
Well,
pleasure is ours, sir.
for your audience, my name is Udayan, and I run Airbnbs. That's my full-time profession. I build and run Airbnbs. It's been almost a decade now that I've been doing this as a full-time business.
Wonderful.
I manage close to 118 plus Airbnb listings in Bangalore as of now.
Okay.
And just like you said, you are passionate about traveling.
Yes.
So am I, and that's how I moved to Airbnb as a business. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Before we jump into all the deep conversations, I want to know about you. So, few questions. Introduce yourself. Where you from? Education, and are you following that education with what you're doing currently?
A very interesting question. No one has asked me this, but then I'll come to this. So I basically my roots are from Maharashtra. So,
Okay.
but then I have lived at many places because of my dad's job. So Bangalore happens to be my eighth or ninth city
Oh my
that
God.
I'm in. So, but then pretty much settled here now. It's been around 14 or 15 years I'm in Bangalore. Uh, as far as the education is concerned, I'm not doing what uh, I did my formal education in.
Okay.
But then, having said that, this is something out of passion that I started doing Airbnbs and then converted that passion into a full time business.
May I ask what is your formal education?
So, I started my education into biomedical engineering,
Okay.
dropped out after 2 years of doing biomedical engineering. Uh, After that, I did a full time honors degree in mathematics and computer science.
Wow.
That I completed. And then I did a certification course into advertising and marketing from IIM Bangalore.
Okay, so you touch basically everything.
Someone asked me, what's that one thing that you learned from whatever formal education you did? The answer to that was, I now know what I should not be doing rather
Okay.
than what, I should be
I
doing.
feel like everyone does engineering just to figure out what to do next.
Yes.
So I want to ask one thing. So it's very, yeah, looking at your education and just career trajectory, it's very unconventional, I must say. See, engineering, after that mathematics, and then now this. So were you always been encouraged to try out new things, or is it like an innate habit of yours from childhood?
Honestly, no. I always whatever I did, this was not very planned, and this is what I wanted to. I wanted my life to really look this way, or you know, do this way. But then, having said that, I'm very optimistic about whatever I do,
Hmm.
and I usually see life in zero and one, yes or no. So
Okay,
something which I don't like, I don't do it, and something which I like, I
you do it.
probably do it for pretty long time. So hence Airbnb I've been doing, as I said, for almost a decade now because I like doing it. But then because biomedical engineering is something which I didn't like, maybe 2 years was a good time for me to know that I don't want to do this. So uh, of course curiosity is there. I love to try new things always.
Hmm.
But then once I like something, I stick to it and consistently do it.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Uh, Before we jump, I want to ask what is home awaits and also Marathi Connect.
Okay, so home awaits is basically my bread and butter.
Okay.
So this is my business where under this brand we run Airbnb. So when I say we run Airbnbs, that means we either buy a land, construct a building on that or a house on that, furnish it, convert it into Airbnbs, and do short-term rental. That is one.
Mm.
Second, already constructed buildings or homes, uh, you know, which the owners, those respective owners, want a operator to
Mm.
run that on Airbnb. We take care of that.
Okay.
So I have a team of around 40 people doing it, directly, indirectly associated with me, who
Okay.
takes care of my business, uh, of day-to-day operations, basically.
That's wonderful.
This is what I do in Airbnb, in home
Home
awaits.
awaits.
Yeah. Marathi Connect is my passion project. It is basically a community of Marathi speaking individuals, Marathi speaking families,
Mm.
uh, those who have relocated out of their home state of Maharashtra.
Okay.
So, just like me, how you know, uh, few years back I moved here.
Mm.
So you need a language connect around you, and hence Marathi Connect was formed.
Okay. It's like a
Yes.
community based.
It's a community of Marathi speaking
Okay.
individuals who are living out of their home state of Maharashtra. So we have this Marathi Connect communities in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, Chennai, especially in bigger cities uh, outside Maharashtra.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful, sir. So I want to ask this: are you well settled in Bangalore now? Is it like a second home for you or not?
Yeah, I'm pretty much settled.
Okay.
Yes. Uh, if the definition of settled is something that I like, I mean, the way I understand, then yes, I'm settled.
Okay.
But then, of course, again, there are a lot of opportunities because I've lived in so many cities
Mm-hmm.
across last 35 years. Uh, I'm not confined to one geography,
Okay.
right? If the opportunity arises, I don't know, maybe
Maybe some other city.
some other city could be. Okay. But,
Okay.
but I'm pretty much settled as of today in Bangalore.
Okay. So, what made you start this? What made you get into this Airbnb game? That too a decade before.
As uh, during maybe just out of college, traveling is something that
Mm.
excites many of us.
Yes.
Just like that, it used to excite me as well. I used to love traveling. Uh, when I started traveling, I explored couch surfing as one of the platform,
Mm-hmm.
and then Airbnb as one of the platform. And because I was doing something into real estate already, I was constructing apartments, I was constructing real estate for hotels and commercial properties.
Okay.
Airbnb was a natural calling for me, where I converted that
Yes.
acumen, that knowledge that I had of construction into a hospital into
New
building
age
a hospitality
hospitality.
business. Yes.
So let me tell you one crazy thing. This is very amazing coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
My project in my final year of my graduation was hospitality industry, and we were actually doing research on how disruptive Oyo and Airbnb has been on entire hospitality game. And when we came up close with a lot of Airbnbs and hotels and everything, the number of bookings in Airbnbs are considerably higher than the traditional hotels we have. And it was very amazing back then. And I was thinking, oh my god, Airbnb and Oyo are just killing the game. And coming to Airbnb, I prefer much more Airbnb than Oyo, is because the aesthetic you have when you enter. They give a lot of. You must know this. You must know this more than me. You focus more on the aesthetics comparatively Oyo. And when I have been doing this, I guess I met, I don't know his name. He was a super host too from Bangalore itself, from JP Nagar. He explained us everything. Back then I was very naive to understand the entire model, but today I have the opportunity to talk with you.
Yes.
So when you started out, uh, what was the initial struggles you had? Because right now Airbnb is in the game now, but coming looking back in 10 years, I feel it's very fresh at that point of time. Or was it different from your perspective?
Well, I'll take it one by one. As
Mm-hmm.
you said that yes, a hotel industry and Airbnb industry, or Airbnb as a model, uh, works on fundamentally very different principles. A hotel or a hotelier possibly looks on standardizing the entire experience, right? So when you stay at uh, a Tribo or a Oyo, or even for that matter even Taj or Marriott uh, in Bangalore, and with the same brand when you stay in Delhi or any other city, the experience is very standardized, right? So it's a very predictable way of staying. So morning 7 o'clock you're going to get breakfast, 10 o'clock the breakfast counter will close, so it's very predictable. So when you are there for a uh, very quick work in that particular city for a business travel and so on, a hotel works great, right?
Yes.
Because everything is in place the way you thought it will be. On the other hand, Airbnbs are very different,
Mm.
because Airbnbs are run by the hospitality standards defined by their property owners,
Okay.
right? So the experience when you stay in an Airbnb
Mm.
is very different and very unpredictable in a positive way,
Yes.
and hence people like that, right? So when I stay at an Airbnb in Kurg,
Mm.
at in a homestay, the entire experience will be very localized, with the host staying there and the host family cooking food for
Yes.
me and so on. Whereas the Airbnb where probably I would stay in Gurgaon will be
Mm.
entirely different, right? Because there in Gurgaon it could be an apartment kind of a setup, whereas in Kurg it could be a homestay, a bungalow kind of a setup. So hence, Airbnb as a model, while for a customer, it's still a hospitality as an industry,
Yes.
but then fundamentally both are very different. So for leisure, for trying different experience when people travel, that people do travel a lot
Mm-hmm.
these days, they prefer Airbnbs. Whereas people who travel for business, uh, for a very short duration,
Short duration.
they prefer
They prefer the traditional.
hotels.
So let me address this question. There are a lot of claims. They are saying ki Airbnbs are killing traditional hotel industry in India. What is your take on this?
I don't think uh, it is about killing anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the choice have to be left on the user, the end user.
Mm.
Airbnb gives another way for
Mm.
a hotelier or for a hospitality professional to come out of that standardization walls and
Mm.
do something that he likes, right?
Be more creative.
Absolutely. See, today, if a host or if a business owner wants to build a house or a property based on the way he wants.
Hmm.
Probably under the hotel standard, it might not fit in,
Yes.
right? Because hotel need certain way of doing certain things,
Hmm.
right? You should have a restaurant. Probably you should have this kind of this size of beds,
Layouts.
this
Yes.
size of layout. Your wall color should be this. Every hotel has a
Yes.
different
Yes.
color code and all those things. But if a host has a different and a better way of doing it,
Hmm.
I think Airbnb allows it.
Okay.
Uh, if there are, as you said, there are a lot of bookings, those are happening on Airbnb.
Hmm.
That means even the guest is liking it. Only because there was no option for travelers to stay at places other than hostels or traditional hotels back
Hmm.
then, people did not think of Airbnbs. But now, because uh, people love traveling, i- because people love to stay or experience different houses,
Yes. Yes.
unique properties, I think that makes Airbnb different than hotels. Uh, may not be killing hotel as such, but definitely gives more option to the end customer on trying different things.
Is it because the Indian consumers are very price sensitive? Is that the reason why Airbnb is working much better than the traditional Indian hotels?
No, I don't think so, because Airbnbs are costlier than many standard hotels,
Oh,
right? So, a typical notion for someone would be because Airbnbs are cheaper, hence people book a lot of
yes,
Airbnbs.
yes.
Uh, but if you go on the website and compare Airbnbs to a standard hotel in that area, of course, not a 3 or 4 star hotel, but a standard
Mm-hmm.
hotel, you would find there are a lot of cheaper hotels compared to Airbnbs in that locality. So Airbnb is not a cheaper way of traveling,
Okay,
for
okay.
sure. It's a unique way. In fact, there are lots and lots of properties, unique properties we call it on Airbnbs, which has some beautiful view, which
Yes,
is like
yes.
staying in a tree house, a
Exactly.
cave kind of a house, and so on, which are priced even higher than the costliest property of that region.
Okay.
So Airbnbs are definitely not a cheaper
Cheaper than the no.
option than hotel.
So, give me 3 to 4 points, however you want to wish to give points. What is working out for Airbnb and not usual hotels or any other competitors?
Choices of properties. See,
Hmm.
you today, the customer is the king.
Hmm.
You can't dictate your customer or your guest on where he should travel or where he should stay, right? It is very much, you can even see the pattern where about our parents used to book a holiday
Yes.
through a travel agent, right? They used to create the itinerary and
Exactly.
they used to tell us this is the place you have to go, this is the hotel that you have to stay.
Yes, yes.
But then slowly, we don't see travel agents anymore, right? Uh, we do it either through Chat GPT, or maybe we go on Make My Trip and create a itinerary on where I want to travel.
Hold on a second. We are planning travels through ChatGPT.
Yeah, of course. Yes, uh, if I have to travel today,
Okay.
I don't go on Make My Trip, or I don't go to a booking agent today.
Okay.
I ask ChatGPT to create an itinerary for me,
Wow.
right? And Airbnb suggests me on where I should be staying and what I should be doing,
Oh my God.
right? So that's how the travel industry is evolving. Having said that, when you give options to your customer, that you travel anywhere, you stay anywhere. it, I don't tell you that you have to finish your breakfast till 11
Yes, yeah,
o'clock,
till 11 o'clock. Yeah.
right? I don't tell you that you have to leave the swimming pool at 11 p.m.
Hmm.
It's your holiday, it's your life. You have paid us the money. You use the property the way you want. There are no rules. There are no uh, rules and regulation on how you should stay at the property. Of course, safety standards are there.
Hmm.
So guests love that experience. You want to eat food from the restaurant, you can eat. But if you're traveling with your family, infants, maybe elderly parents, you can cook the food in the house itself,
Exactly. Yes.
right? So all that flexibility is there with Airbnb. And more than Airbnb, it's the host who decides all these rules and
Yes, yes.
regulations. And hence, it becomes much easier for a customer to decide his based on his priorities, based on his budget, he can choose the property.
Okay, sir, that's a very good explanation. चलो अभी थोड़ा numbers पे चलते हैं.
जी.
You like numbers, even I like numbers. So coming to the numbers game, a lot of people say Airbnb business is a passive income, but you have made it your bread and butter. So do you think is it just like a better option as a passive income, or everyone can do it as a mainstream business?
Uh, See, जो Airbnb शुरू हुआ था, when
Mm-hmm.
Airbnb started in US, it started uh, by renting out a extra room in Brian Chesky's own house. The
Mm-hmm.
founder of Airbnb
Yes, yes.
rented out his own room, Brian Chesky, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then he made money out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
so when it started, it was more of letting you make some extra bucks out of your existing real estate.
Okay.
But eventually, over a period of time, the models changed uh, because real estate is a very local subject.
Yes, yes.
In India, uh, we don't have comfort of hosting an unknown person in your own house,
Exactly.
right? Hence, in India, most of the Airbnb owners whom I meet do Airbnb in a different house than where they are staying,
Yes, yes.
right? And then what might start as a passive way of monetizing their own real estate, eventually, if someone likes it, then they convert it into a full-time business. Someone like me, how I started it just to see should if I would be able to make uh, a passive rental income out of my existing property.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I figured it out that this is something which I love doing. I love meeting guests. I love
Mm.
hosting people, and hence converted it into a full-time
Well,
business. So for a end customer, it doesn't matter if you are doing this as a full-time business or a part-time thing, because he's paying you to stay at your property. He
yes.
expect a full-fledged service, just like any other hospitality chain would give him. So someone who is doing this as a passive source of income,
Mm.
maybe they can do it at a very small scale by keeping their existing jobs in place. But then if you have to scale it, then
Yes,
it is a
yes.
full-time thing.
Uh, is it sustainable to make it a full time?
Absolutely, yes. I've been doing it from almost a decade, and
Decade.
yes, else I would have not done it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is
obviously.
very much sustainable,
Mm.
and I've known few more hosts who do it full time.
Wow, it's amazing. So we have drawn comparison with traditional hotels. Now I want to draw comparison from the perspective of real estate. Is Airbnb a better real estate option than what usually people have, renting out?
See, if you think this is uh, a a better option of earning rental
Hmm.
than a traditional renting, on paper the answer is yes.
Okay.
But having said that, this is a service industry.
Hmm.
Unlike rental properties, where someone is staying in your property for say 11 months or maybe a year or two, whatever,
Yeah.
uh, there is no service component involved in it, right? You just hand over the keys
Hmm.
to your new tenant, you sign the agreements, and you are done.
You're done.
Airbnbs uh, requires lots and lots of effort, time, services to be involved
Hmm.
to earn that extra alpha that you make over and above the rental.
But it makes worth it in the end, right? The numbers.
Yes, but then it takes your time. It's a full time business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So checking in, checking out,
Yes.
doing the laundry, repainting the house if something, if you feel that there are some
Yeah, yeah.
stains on the walls and all, uh, something is broken, you need to replace it, change it. You have to pay your electricity bills, you have to pay your Wi-Fi bills, You have to take care of, you have to also factor in the occupancy level. So in rental, you have a steady source of
Hmm.
income. You know next month how much money
You are getting it.
you are getting. In Airbnb, uh, you don't know, because it depends on the occupancy levels as well.
Yes.
So for the extra money that you make, you have to you have to be ready to go through all these cycles,
Ups and downs.
ups and downs. And if you are okay doing it, just like any other business, I think it's a great business to be in.
Okay. Let's go with an example. Let's just say I have a 2 BHK house in a prime location. Let's just say Indiranagar in Bangalore. If I have to turn it into Airbnb and get profits out of it, how shall I start? And what all I have to keep in my mind?
Let me tell you the calculations on paper, how it works.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
suppose a traditional 2 BHK in Indranagar would fetch a rental of, say, about 50,000 rupees.
Yes.
Let me consider that way. A Airbnb would anywhere make about a lakh, anywhere between a lakh to 1,50,000,
Per
which is
month.
per month, which is 2x or 3x in terms of revenues.
Hmm.
These are not profits,
Yes. Yes.
right? Uh, when you factor in, let us assume that you make 1 lakh rupees as revenue, then there are a lot of components which adds on as expenses. Because this is a service industry, you need to
Yes.
pay a GST on it. A typical GST is 12% on the revenues that you make.
Revenues.
So you end up paying 12,000 on that, right? I'm just giving
Rough numbers.
rough numbers, right? Uh, so you pay 12,000 rupees on a lakh.
Yes.
Then you have your employee cost, right? Where where your employee takes care of the check-in, check-out,
Yes. Yes.
right? Because the guest might check in at night 2 o'clock, someone might check out at night 4 o'clock, whatever.
Hmm.
So you need to have a caretaker or your
Yes.
property
Yes.
manager doing it. The next expense would be a housekeeping staff. Could be a maid who stays there, cleans the house, does laundry for you, and so on.
So after all the costs,
Cost.
whatever you left with it.
Then you have electricity cost, you have maintenance cost,
Yes. Yes.
everything included. So for a 50,000 property, I mean 50,000 rental property, you end up making, say, 60-70,000 rupees,
60, 70,000.
right? So in terms of percent, you make 25-30% more
So it's always a better option to go with it, or it's your
at a
own
scale.
choice.
At a
Hmm.
scale. So now when we take example of one house, that 20,000 rupees extra that you make might
Hmm.
not fascinate you,
Yes. Yes.
right? But then instead of one house, if you have 100 houses,
Then it's a big game.
then that 20,000 suddenly starts making much sense for you.
Yes.
So hence any business for that matter, uh, gi- we speak about economies of scale. So you can only make money
Hmm.
when you are doing anything at a scale. Else, it should be that small
Hmm.
that you are doing it inside your own house or within the compound of your own house, where you don't have this extra expenses in terms of
Exactly.
keeping a housekeeping person or a property manager. Everything can be managed within your housemates itself.
Hmm.
So then it makes sense. But if you are somewhere in middle, then you end up losing money instead of making money.
But do you think is it basically for us Indians, our homes are really precious to us. We don't like to share it. Do you, whenever you see because my sister when she has traveled from abroad and she has come, she wanted to rent out a Airbnb when we were going for a trip. So when she was expecting some nice houses with a view or something like that, but when we saw, for her surprise, she was just looking at service apartments or villas or mansion houses, and she just asked, and we thought we Indians will never let some stranger come and stay with us simultaneously. I know that the model is going on, but I don't think so. A lot of people go for it. So how did you solve that issue? Did you go with the going separate properties.
Absolutely. So as I told you earlier also, the way we host as Indians,
Mm.
we don't like any stranger to stay in our own house,
Yes.
right? Where we are also staying.
Mhm.
Hence, the way we host as Indians is that we buy or we rent a property outside, very close to our own homes,
Mm.
or within the compound of our own house. If it's like a bungalow or something,
Yes, yes.
we furnish it, and as a host, we run that unit as an
Mm.
independent unit on Airbnb. Right?
Yes.
That's a typical way on how Indians do Airbnb as a business.
Mm.
There are very, very less number of hosts who do Airbnbs inside their own house
Inside
where
their
they are
own
staying.
office.
Right?
That's.
And even guests, for that matter, the way Indians travel,
Mm.
they also need private space.
Yes.
They also don't want to share space with someone who already exists there. So they need a private room, they need a private washroom, they need private entry exit. Uh, so yes, as you rightly said, there are there are not many hosts in India whom I have come across where they are hosting their Airbnbs where they are staying by themselves.
Yes.
Right. In bigger bungalows, I've seen people constructing a outhouse, a tree
Mm.
house within the campus. Someone
Yes.
who owns a farmland, they have built few, tree houses, few huts, few tents, and then
Mm.
they have put it on Airbnb.
Yes.
Right. So they are living in the same compound, but not necessarily sharing their space for a
Mm.
guest.
That's
Yes.
amazing. So when you started out this
Mhm.
like a decade ago, what are the problems you faced back then? Now it's completely vanished.
Uh, Back then, people didn't know what Airbnb is. Only few guests who have traveled abroad, who have
Mm.
stayed in Airbnbs, they knew what Airbnb is. However, there were a lot of guests who thought that Airbnb is a cheaper alternative to a hotel,
Mm.
and hence they used to book Airbnbs. And then when they used to come to Airbnb, they used to find that this is not a hotel,
Mm.
but a house, like a
Yes.
serviced apartment. And that used to be uh, a problem for us because a guest was expecting something else here,
Yes.
and here it's entirely different, where the guest have to cook their own food. And then there were a lot of funny instances where a guest used to ask, we have given you money, why should we cook food? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You should serve us. This is a hotel, why there is no restaurant here? And
Yeah.
so on. So that used to happen a lot. uh,
Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
that was my first experience with Airbnb. I guess I was somewhere around in my 10th standard, I assume. By then, I had never been to Airbnb or this sort of UV family. I always used to go traditionally with hotels and every hotel bookings. I went on with my cousins and a bunch of my friends, and when we went, I was expecting a pool, nice, restaurant, early morning breakfast down there. So when I went there, okay, I thought we're just staying, prior to the check-in of the hotel. But then, yeah, this is our stay. This is where we're gonna stay for the rest of the trip. Okay, but where's the restaurant?
True.
Where am I gonna get, a room service and all that done? That's exactly my experience too. But it's very funny listening from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then getting that expectation right
Yeah.
from a traveler used to be a challenge for us.
Mm.
Uh, it's about changing, that habits, and it takes a decade or more for people to understand. Uh, I remember we having coffee in CCDs, or even a five-star hotel or restaurant where they just bring a hot water
Mm.
and all the ingredients around, and then you have to mix.
Yes. Yes.
And probably for someone, I mean, jokingly we used to say, if we have to do everything, why are we paying 500 rupees for
Exactly.
this, right? So it's the same thing that used to happen in Airbnb quite often, where even the name, as it suggests, that Air B and B, where one B stands for bed and breakfast, right?
Mm.
So breakfast looks a obvious thing for a guest, that
Yes. Yes.
breakfast will be served. But then at many of the Airbnbs, breakfast is not served. Breakfast
Yes.
you have to cook for yourself, and but then eventually now we don't see that kind of problem because
Exactly.
a lot of people know what Airbnb is. Uh, the positioning of Airbnb uh, is changed over
Mm-hmm.
a decade now. As I said earlier, it used to be considered as an alternative or a cheaper source of
Yes.
a travel accommodation, but seeing those unique properties on Airbnbs, that perception has also changed,
Chill now.
that it is not a cheaper way of staying.